Hi everybody, it's Tatiana, and yeah, I'm doing a video today. This is going to be my May wrap up. I am filming. Yeah, I am filming. In the midst of everything that's going on, I am not okay. As many of us who are in, I can't say all of us because I don't know all of us, but many of us who are black are not okay. Years and years of bullshit. We're not okay. I will say this, and I questioned whether or not, or not even whether or not I was going to say anything, but how I was going to say what I was going to say. And yeah, this is what I will say. We're not okay. Don't ask us if we're okay. If you're not black, don't ask us how you can be an ally. It's not our job to help you be an ally. Find others who are in your community who are allies and ask them to teach you how to be an ally. If you can't find any, rethink your fucking community. That's all that I'm going to say on that for right now. This is going to be my wrap up for the month of May. May was my birthday month, and so my goal for the month of May was to read books with all blue covers, and yeah, I succeeded. So I read Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. Rumpelstiltskin is one of my most favorite of the fairy tales. Is it a fairy tale? It's kind of dark for a fairy tale, but yeah, it's one of my favorite fairy tale stories. And I was going to do a standalone review of this, try to record it as a way to divert my attention from the bullshit that was going on, and it was complete trash. So yeah, that's not being seen. But I really like what Naomi Novik did with this story in making it a fairy tale retelling, and how it is not like a direct retelling. There are many characters in this story that embody the story of Rumpelstiltskin and the idea of changing one thing to another. And then there's also the element of the effects of what is being done that seems to be magical. Also, there's thought on what makes something magical. There's so much that's good about this. The one problem that I did have with this story is that the main character of the story, she and her family are Jewish, and it was just very interesting how every time they are referenced in the story, and granted this is set in a town that is based on Russia as well as the surrounding counties, but the way that they are referred to in the book shows that they are not thought of highly. It's tinged with anti-Semitism, and I think that was Novik's intention. And there's also another element. I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but I'm going to share it anyway because I can't remember what fairy tale it comes from. But there's this element of a house existing in two worlds, and the people who inhabit the house basically sharing resources across these two worlds, but neither of them knows where these resources are coming from. So like, if it were my house, I cook dinner and have leftovers, and so I leave the leftovers on the stove, and when I wake up in the morning, my leftovers are less than what I left on the stove, and then added to that is a sweet tea or some dessert, because there's somebody in this, like the sharing of resources magically, but you don't know what's going on. And I cannot remember what story that comes from, but as soon as I read that part, I was like, oh my gosh, I have got to find this story for my own peace of mind so that I know where I am remembering this from. But yeah, I'll say all of that to say, after finishing this book, I want to read more by Naomi Novik. You don't have to read them. I think there are only 2 retellings that she has that is focused like this, and the first one is Uprooted. I want to read Uprooted now, and I want to also read her, is it Temeraire, her dragon series. I'm interested in reading that as well because I just really like the way that she writes. It is there's a lyricalness and beauty in the way fairy tales are written, and I think that is also true in how this story was written. It was absolutely beautiful, and the number of characters that are in this story and the way that they intersect and how it's done without an enormous amount of explanation. It's just there and it all fits so well. This was great. I also read A Dance of Cloaks by David Dalgleish. This was one of the cover buys that last year, I think a video that I did that I didn't follow up on. I did a video about books that I purchased because their covers were eye candy, and this is like my eye candy. A warrior with a cloak and weapons. I enjoyed this. I will say how I feel about this, and I don't mean to be disrespectful in stating this because I really did enjoy this story, but this is a story that does not take a lot of your mental faculties to enjoy. It is very plainly written, and not plain in a bad way, but there's not much that's left to the imagination, where you are reading what this world looks like, and you are given some freedom with creating the picture. The picture is created for you. All you have to do is read it. It will build itself. The fight scenes, which I really enjoy fight scenes, they're written very differently. They're written more detailed and more like matter of fact. He placed his foot here, he turned here, he stabbed here, she jumped back 5 feet, and like it's just very this person did this, and this was the result of this, and this is what compiles and makes the fight scene. There's not anything in this book that is overly like gripping, or I don't want to say compelling, but that's kind of where my mind is going. Not that this wasn't a compelling read, because I really just enjoyed reading this for the fun of reading. This was a very fun read. We have a character who is the son of an assassin, and this world is run. I haven't told anything about what this book is about. This world is set up where there are guilds, and there are different thief guilds, and it's kind of like gang mentality. You have safety if you are in one of these guilds, but all of these guilds are enemies of each other, unless there is something that they are attempting to band together to fight about. And then along with the guilds, you have something that's called the trifect, who are all the rich people that make or break towns, and so the trifect and the guilds are against each other. They've been in this conflict with each other for years, and that's pretty much where we pick up in this book, where some of the conflict is coming to a head, and there's this huge scheme that the most dangerous person of the guilds is orchestrating. And yeah, there's an element of magic, and the characters that you come into contact with as the guilds intersect with each other. And then also you do have this world does have a king, and the king has power, but it's often overshadowed by the power of the trifect, and the power of the trifect is often undermined by the works of the guilds from city to city. So yeah, it sounds like it's a lot, and it could be confusing, but the way that Dalgleish writes this, it's really not. It is so simple to understand and get where everyone is placed, what guild they're a member of, and then you have traitors, you have fights, you have murder. It's really enjoyable. And there's this thing that like none of the characters in this story are good characters. Even the priests are murderers. And it's a show that Peggy Hill on King of the Hill watched, where the priest was like this vigilante killer. That's pretty much the makeup of the priests in this book that you see the most in this. There are two factions of priests as well. One is more genteel, the other is renegade, rogue coming at you. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Just at the time that I read it, I needed something that was escapist, and this was a very enjoyable escapist read. I was scared when I first started that I wasn't going to want to continue with the series because I have book 2, and I do, because I want to know what happens next, and to know that I can read this and really not have to think much. And again, that sounds bad, but I don't mean it in a bad way. I really enjoyed it. Probably should have done a separate review of that because I feel like that was super duper long. And then I read She Would Be King by Wayetu Moore. I do plan to do a full review of this, so I don't want to talk about this much here other than to say I am still thinking about this. I did really enjoy it, and I think I have even more with the bullshit that's going on immediately right now, but really taking what's going on now in light of what's been going on for the past 4 years, in light of what's been going on for the past 4 centuries. Yeah, I'm still marinating on this book, and its purpose and its point as far as I am concerned. So yeah, I will be doing a separate review of this. Be on the lookout for that. The last book that I read, I think this is right, I read The Changeling, and I will insert a picture by Victor LaValle. This is the first book that I have read by Victor LaValle, and oh my goodness, I plan to read more. I will say this was pegged as a horror novel, and while there are some elements in it that are suspenseful, I did not find it to be horror. I felt that it was more of a thriller, and I'm sure it would be scary for other people, but for me it felt like just more of a thriller. There are some kind of like gross, violent things that happen, but the way that this story goes is just really, really enjoyable. It starts with the story of the main character's parents and how they come to meet up and they have a kid, and then something happens in their relationship. You jump to the kid as an adult and his falling in love, getting married, having a child, and then his wife does something that is like unforgivable, and then his search to find out what the hell basically brought along the actions that she did and where to go from that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. As I was reading it, I was like, I want to read more of this, and I read it pretty quickly. There are short chapters, and because I borrowed it from the library as an ebook, I always have my Kindle set to show me how many minutes, based on my reading speed, how many minutes are left in the chapter. So I would start a chapter and it would say like 3 minutes left in the chapter, and I'm looking at my watch like, okay, it's 11:15 p.m. but it's only 3 minutes left in this chapter. And then so I will read that, and then the next chapter and the next chapter, and yeah, it was just really, really enjoyable to read. I also like the way that the parts are split up. Like it starts off with this cute little fairy tale thing. First comes love is part 1, then comes marriage is part 2, then comes a baby in a baby carriage is part 3, and then part 4 is shit damn motherfucker. If you have not heard the D'Angelo song, get your life and go listen to it, because it's everything. But yeah, and then I won't tell you what the next sections are, but I do remember what they are, which is very telling for how much I enjoyed the story, because it's the sections that are broken up into chapters. And even with the 8 sections of the book, it's 100 chapters and they fly by. So I cannot recommend that highly enough, because I just enjoyed the read of it. But be forewarned, there are some things of body horror in it, and yeah, it's just very descriptive, which I also enjoy, but I did not find it to be a horror novel for what I consider horror to be. Weird and suspenseful, yes, and that's what I call a thriller. So yeah, that is everything that I read for the month of May. I think, if I'm wrong, oh well. If I'm missing a book, it's a whole possibility, but oh well. I have some other videos that I do need to film, so they will be coming shortly. But yeah, remember what I said, because I meant that shit. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good weekend whenever you see this video. Peace out.